One of the most popular videos on this channel is about ditching the tape that helps you find the finger placement in the first position. So today I want to help you practice getting your notes perfectly in tune, and it's not by playing your favorite songs. Hi, I'm Ariadna, and this is Mindful Strings, where I help you transform your violin playing through the principles of the Alexandria technique and the Russian School of Violin. I teach violin privately full-time in my studio here in Boston, Massachusetts, and I have created this online resource for anyone wanting to learn at home. I've got some free resources available for you in the description down below. There's some links there. One is a pre-practice routine to release tension. One is a 15-minute practice session that is guided, as well as a link to my mini course, Scratchy to Smooth, which is all about creating a beautiful sound on the violin. So it seems that a lot of you love that video about finding notes without the tape. There are a couple of naysayers here and there that appear, but the truth is, we've talked about intonation and we've talked about finding the fingers, finding the notes on the violin. And, intonation is not something that you just get right, that you just practice enough to where you have it and then that's it. You don't have to do it anymore. We all work on playing in tune through our whole lives when we are learning new pieces, coming back to old pieces, and it's because we are living organisms. It cannot be mathematically precise, I don't think, in a way where you just get it once and then you have it forever. Our postures change over the years, our musculature changes, our bone density changes, our mood changes. There's so many things that change. So as I walked you through finding the notes in first position on the A string, and I will make more videos about the other strings because I have gotten some requests about that as well, so I will post those for you if that's helpful. Let's today just practice finding the first finger note on the A string, which is your B. One of the issues when it comes to finding the notes is that when you're starting out as a beginner, a lot of the times you start with some easy songs, which makes sense, especially with kids, because you want the process to be fun and interesting. And what's motivating is to be able to play real music. However, unfortunately, it slows you down just a little bit in a way, because if you don't practice if you don't isolate the movement itself and you don't practice just, finding each note on its own, it's going to be a lot harder to be consistent with it, because think about all the things that you're learning all at once with how to hold the violin, how to hold the bow, how to create a sound. There's a lot going on for a beginner. Even if you're not a beginner, this may be beneficial to you, because one of the hardest things is to play the note exactly the same when you take the finger off the string. Let's go ahead and try this. So I want you to pick up your violin and your bow. If you're standing up, feel the ground under your feet and feel your weight on the ground. You're working with gravity and not against it. Notice your breathing. Make sure that your rib cage opens up as your lungs expand, and your shoulder girdle is allowed to move, because our shoulders are not a fixed thing. They float. So we don't want to fix them by pulling them down, and we don't want to fix them by pushing them up. Bring your violin in playing position, letting the weight of the head support the violin as well as the arm. You're going to have your hand in first position here, straight wrist, thumb straight, pointing up while lightly resting on the neck. Now, real quick, I'll just go over. I use this trick when I don't need vibrato, is I use this little spot on my hand right here as like a tiny little shelf for the violin. So I'm not just holding it like this as if it's like pinched between the thumb and the index finger. I pull my index finger back just a touch so that the violin neck has a tiny ledge to play on. Now, again, I won't always play that way, but in this instance, this really helps. So what we're going to be doing is we will play the open A and the first finger B. And so notice how I'm doing this. My hand is free. I can wiggle my fingers freely. I can move them back from the first row of knuckles. You will hear me talk about this a lot because it's very important. And so I pull back the first finger and then I drop it on the string. I take it off quickly, and then I release the tension immediately. So you want to really put a little bit of energy into that finger popping off the string. When it comes to playing fast, this is what will give you the cleanest results. You want really free but very active fingers. It's like articulating the words very cleanly. That's what ends up happening. And of course, as with everything, it makes sense that we first practice it kind of slowly. So what you might find is that when you drop the finger down, it might go too low or too high. And we are looking to train it to execute that movement and get to the correct note as many times in a row as possible. You may keep track of how many repetitions you end up doing correctly before it becomes more or less consistent. Alrighty, so let's do it again. Let's do it together. We're gonna do A, B, right before the bow change. Take it off. Pull it back and drop. Release your glutes, release your legs. Notice your breath. Off. And down. Off. The other thing is that little preparation for the finger, it's almost like you're going, and you're about to say something, so it's like the finger takes a breath before launching onto the string or before going underwater. Now, let's slur the two notes just to kind of see what may change for you. You may notice something. We're going to play 2 notes per bow now. What are your observations? And are you looking in the mirror? If you're doing this right alongside me, great. I'm always happy to be a practice buddy, but make sure that you also have a mirror in your practice space so you can actually watch that your hands stay straight and that you don't end up with a collapsed wrist or raised shoulders, and that you keep that movement going. You want to make sure that the finger is ready, set, drops, and pops off. That's the movement. And you can even do this without the bow because you usually will hear the note. So if you are into the idea of taking an efficient approach and not jumping ahead, I think this will help you quite a bit, because if you think about it, the more microscopically we break down this very complicated process of learning to play this instrument, the easier it's going to become. It's not climbing Mount Everest in one day with 0 preparation. It's, taking one tiny hike at a time. Drop me a line in the comments below if you were able to create that movement in your index finger and if you are finding your B in tune without using tape. Happy mindful practicing, and I'll see you next time.